I've come here only 2 times earlier, and today I see some new faces, at least to me. So it's a good sign. I will give you a short recap of what we discussed. It was not much of a discussion because not much came from that side. So in the beginning I request you to have a lot of discussion coming in from that side, because basically it's an interaction to understand ourselves and also to understand how we can control ourselves and the environments in which we live, and how to have a kind of self-defense mechanism, not the karate kung fu type self-defense which we are very much aware of, but a self-defense mechanism when we can balance ourselves irrespective of whatever external pressure or stimuli we have to undergo. And that's the problem today in the real world out there, that you have to stay calm, come what may. So how to achieve this in our daily lives? That's the whole objective of this discussion. You may call it a study of the Bhagavad Gita, or study of world traditions, or study of the Indian spiritual heritage, whatever. They are just names. But the basic objective of this discussion is to make ourselves immune to various kinds of psychological and sometimes, of course, physiological problems that we face in our day-to-day lives. Just like we have this polio drops to get immunity from polio, or the other shots which we are given in our childhood to make ourselves immune from different diseases. We, unfortunately, in the current educational system, or even most of our households, don't give us this vaccination to make ourselves immune from the vagaries of life. And that is what we need the most in today's stressed out environment. Today almost everyone is stressed out. You as students or teachers or administrators are stressed out. People who are in business, they are stressed out. Everyone is trying to grapple this word stress and trying to deal with this situation. And that is where, when we think of the heritage, Indian spiritual heritage or the world spiritual heritage, which we have been, or in many cases have not been properly handed over. So what is this legacy we are talking about? That's what we are going to see. And 2 months back in June, when I came here, we started a discussion on the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. It talks about demonic qualities and angelic qualities, and that's why it was termed angels and demons. Angels and demons which are present within ourselves, not outside. How to identify these angels and these demons, and how to nurture the angels and how to kill those demons. This is the quest. And this is something which we have to do in our day-to-day lives. It's not, I am taking a course on the Bhagavad Gita, I am studying something. So I request you once again to enter into a discussion, like you start questioning at any point you want, and you offer your insights at any point you want. That's very important. Understanding. One Swami, who is now the Vice President of the Ramakrishna order, Swami Narasimhananda ji, he was earlier the General Secretary. So he used to say one thing, like in understanding, there are 3 levels of understanding. First is non-understanding, and then there is a misunderstanding, and then understanding. So before you understand anything, you have to undergo all these 3 levels of understanding. So that's why I request you to start the process. So as I said, we were discussing Bhagavad Gita, the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And it's all about angels and demons. What are angels and what are demons? We saw the first shloka, but last time I couldn't finish the first verse, or couldn't finish the treatment or discussion of the first verse. Today I will try to do that. And this is the first verse. So there is a chanting in this. Now, sound nahi? Now this verse is Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhi Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Dhanam Dhammascha Yajñascha Swadhyaya Tapa Arjavam. Some qualities which are supposed to be angelic qualities have been given here. Fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness of knowledge and yoga, alms giving, control of the senses, yajna, reading of the shastras, austerity, uprightness. And ठीक है, not necessary. We will come to that one by one. So till now we have seen fearlessness, purity of heart, steadfastness in knowledge and yoga. Ki mute kora chilo. Just a second. So last time we saw till alms giving, and now we come to Dhamma, which is restraint of external sense organs. And as far as I remember, it's here where I stopped the last time. Now, restraint of external sense organs. When we think of this restraint of external sense organs, immediately a picture comes to us, a chart, do's and don'ts. Don't do that, don't do that, don't go there, don't do this, and what you have to do, which we have been hearing since our birth probably, or even before that, because when a woman is pregnant, she is given a chart, similar chart, don't do that. And so when we are in the wombs, we are hearing since then that you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that. Now, that is a restraint which comes from being bound. A restraint where you are actually bound. When I study something, when I want to become a, say I want to take doctorate in what could be this? Mathematics. If I want to become a doctorate in mathematics, When we say that, immediately an image comes like we have been bound by a nylon rope and like very tough binding and I can't do anything, I am like in a jail or no. If you want to be in charge of yourself first before you are in charge of anything else, you have to do this because that's how you become in charge of yourself. That's how you take control of yourself. So that's what we are talking about. How do you do that? Very simple. All of us know how we do this. But probably it's not that simple as shown here or as Gandhiji would want us to believe. It's not that simple. Just close your ears or eyes or mouth. But most of the times if you close your mouth, you are happy. Like more often than not, we repent on what we have told. No, in haste, in a fit of anger, what we say, and then we whole life we spend on rectifying the damage done. So maybe the last one of keeping your mouth shut helps. But restraint of the external organs is not done so easily. So how do you go about that? Before that, I will like to draw your attention to something which you know, all of you know. Our human body has a system called homeostasis. It's a self-balancing system put in place by nature, by God, to ensure that we as physical persons and also psychological beings are in harmony with the environment. So when you have a lot of heat, your body starts sweating and the temperature is maintained. When there is cold, you start shivering and the temperature control is maintained. Not only that, even inside the body, the toxic substance which we intake along with food is filtered by the kidney, blood is purified, and there are whole lot of functions inside the body which takes place just to keep you in harmony with the other person. If this were not in place, suppose you didn't have a psychological homeostasis system in place, what would happen? Next time your friend or your colleague just stared at you, you would have given him a nice blow because you couldn't have like tolerated even that stare. So that is the extent of influence of homeostasis on our psychological and physical being. This, why I am telling you this, because this is there present already in our body, but scriptures across the world, traditions, want us to improve upon this nature's gift and to develop this homeostasis to some extent, to such an extent that come whatever, we don't have any reaction. Jesus so famously said that if somebody slaps you on one cheek, show him the other. And in Bhagavad Gita you will find in the 2nd chapter that whether there is heat or cold, whether there is happiness or suffering, you be calm. Or as we would like to say now, just be cool, chill. Now that is the message we get from world traditions, from religious traditions. So what the wise people of the world want us to do is to develop upon something which nature has already given us. Like we do in the case of language. When we are born, we all talk what is called as the toddler talk, some mumbo jumbo. But as we grow old, we understand the syntax, we understand the rhetoric, we understand how to put our ideas in a very good manner in any given language. Similarly, so that is what is sound is all about. So some people who know how to sing, they develop the art of singing, and through the sound they can charm or make audiences spellbound. That is not something which was originally given to that person. maybe sweet voice was given, but this was developed on further. Similarly, this system of homeostasis we have to develop upon. Before understanding anything, we can't control it, obviously. So before even thinking of controlling our external organs, we should understand what these external organs are. Now, obvious response to this statement would be, yes, of course, we all know what is a nose, what's ear, and what's our tongue and all that. But it's not as simple as generally we take it to be. We all know this, that we have 5 sense organs. The organ of sight is called eye, the external organ, because every organ has a brain center, which is the internal organ, and though there is an eye which is perfectly healthy, if the brain center, optical center in the brain is damaged, you don't see. It goes the same way for all the 5 organs. We know about all these organs, but how deep do we know about the functioning of these organs? For example, eye. Eye is something very crucial in our whole psychosomatic system, in our body-mind complex, because the first thing somebody does to focus or concentrate is close the eye. Just this simple act will give you an idea how distracting or how powerful eye is. And that is why the Upanishad says, Kaschid Dhira. Some people who were steadfast, who were steady, they amritatvam aichan, they wanted to attain immortality. And what did they do? Avritta chakshuhu. They closed their eyes. Or better still, they turned their eyes inward to see into themselves. So God has created us in such a way that our paran pashyati, that our senses look externally only. Across the day, whole day, very seldom, very rarely we look into our own faces. Of course, unless you are into fashion business, but otherwise you look your face very less, say morning when you are getting ready and all that. Most of the times we look, we see others, other faces. Every time we are looking into other people, we can find, as the Bible says, you can find something wrong in the eyes of your partner, but you can't find your own problem in the eye. See? So that is what. So first we have to turn inward, avritta chakshuhu. So this gives an idea how powerful eye is, and that is why eye is considered to be the most gross sense organ of all. It's very gross. It has got a very gross effect and a very serious effect. And ear is considered to be the most subtle sense organ, because almost all of us have got this experience. Someone can come near you and talk for hours together like I am doing and still not get to you. I don't know whether that is the case here also, but that happens. So that is why people who practice music, they attain to some level of music, in the sense classical music. They attain to a great level of internal control, because to understand the slight difference between one note and the other half note or 3/4 note, it requires a lot of practice of hearing. And that is why many people, when they hear songs or try to understand some classical stuff, they close their eyes. So eye is a very difficult situation, but eyes can do wonderful things, you see. This is the wonderful eye, wonder-struck eye, the baby looking at what is going on all here in this auditorium. One full talking to so many intelligent people, so that kind of wonder. And what's going on here? This kind of, how long will this go? So eyes talk. You can understand a person through the eyes, and that's why you have this lie detector test, and which shows the flicker of retina and all that blah blah. So there are beautiful eyes, there are angry eyes and all that. Very simply put, beautiful images attract and ugly images repel you. Everyone is attracted to this image and all of us repel when we see this. How is our eye functioning? It's a wonderful thing if you look at it. There is a fluid in which this ball, a sphere, rotates. There is a lens. There is a screen on which the projection falls, which is of course upside down. And every time the brain corrects it, puts it in the correct place. And there are so many other complications. You know when you cross 40 because the doctor says you have cylindrical correction, you have that correction, you have this correction. There are lots and lots of finer things in your vision. But what you exactly see depends on you, because every time it's the brain which gives you the signal of what exactly you see. Take the case of color blindness. You may see blue but you register it as green, or vice versa. So there was this young man called Narendranath who went to Sri Ramakrishna. Later on this Narendranath became Swami Vivekananda. And Sri Ramakrishna says that this boy had his clothes in a disorderly fashion, and he was not worried about what was going on, and his eyes were lost somewhere. You know, the closest example you can encounter in your life is when somebody is in love, or when somebody has done a big blunder. So always eyes are lost because he's wondering what will happen to me next. In love also the same thing happens, because marriage is going to come, so they're always there's this danger, impending danger. Similarly, Swami Vivekananda was thinking of a higher reality, and so his eyes were lost. Sri Ramakrishna gives another important example. He says, like the bird which is hatching its egg, is sitting on the egg, the eyes are lost. It's not particularly focused anywhere. It's just lost like that. Mahendranath Gupta, who was the chronicler of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, he wrote the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna originally in Bengali. He was very much impressed by this idea, and he got a picture of such a bird, though he could not give it to Sri Ramakrishna when Sri Ramakrishna was alive, but afterwards he got a picture. And there we see how a bird is looking at, what we call the vacant look. You just don't look somewhere, just like that, vacant look. Most of the times when somebody is talking in an auditorium, you just vacant look, because there is nobody to look to. So vacant look. And most of the times the audience also give the same look. So that kind of look is there in the bird's eyes, because the bird's concentration is on the egg. So eye is the most gross sense organ, and precisely for that reason we can control it. For starters, we can just close